Hi Year 10, I'm just going to explain how to do the distance or displacement activity in the OneNote. So you have two options. Option A is to complete this activity by doing a walk or a run outside, or option B is to complete the green activity, which just involves walking around your home. Choose whichever one suits you and your situation. Make sure that if you are choosing to go for a walk outside, you have permission and that you remain safe. Option A, if you choose to go for a walk or run outside, it needs to be 15 minutes in length and you must measure how far you have travelled. So the important thing to do here is you need to count the number of steps you take. If you have a pedometer, you can use one of those. It's a step counter, so a lot of watches, fancy watches, come along with that option. Or if you already use some type of tracking app, such as the Nike Run Club or My Runkeeper, this will also measure distance travelled and GPS track where you've gone. So that's an option for you. You must measure how far you've travelled. When you get back from your walk, you put whatever you've counted as your measurements into this table here. Then you need to log on to Google Maps and you need to Google Map the area that you've walked, and once the Google Maps has calculated that distance, you will put that measurement in here. So you should end up with two measurements. Hopefully they're similar. Obviously if you've counted in steps, there's going to be a big weakness here, but hopefully you've been able to measure your step and see how far your natural step is and whether that's if you can get a ruler, you can measure with the little rulers and then do some maths calculations there. So if you do choose to count in steps, you do have to add an extra step in here to transfer that information into a meter. Once you're on Google Maps, okay, type in your starting point. So if I walked from Kmart in Maitland to the Maitland basketball stadium, okay, and I walked along High Street, down there past the art gallery and to Maitland basketball. Then I walked all the way back, okay. Now if you didn't walk up and back directly, what you can do here is you can drag the little white dots to change the route. So let's say I started from here and I walked to Maitland basketball and then kept walking in a loop through those streets back to Kmart. So the total distance travelled is 2 kilometres. If I went past the train station as well, then I'm using that 2.4 measurement. So drag and drop your little dot to change your measurements about where you went. And then take that number down there, 2 kilometres, whatever yours is, place it into the data table here. Okay, so that will be your distance calculation, and I need you to compare the one on Google Maps with the one you counted. And if there is a difference, I want you to think of a reason why that is, and write a sentence or two down there. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to go back to Google Maps and I want you to calculate the displacement. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So displacement is, as the crow flies, a distance in a straight line from where it was started, where you started to where you finished. So if I started here, I can right click, go down to measure distance, and this will allow me to draw a line directly from where I started to where I finished. Now I didn't finish at Maitland Basketball Stadium, I finished back where I started. So in this situation, my displacement is actually going to be 0. If I didn't do a loop and I went from A to B, okay, and I'm measuring displacement, I'm going to right click. Let's clear that for a second. Right click, measure distance, click where I went to, and that will give me the straight line measurement of where I traveled. So it was 585 meters in a direct line. If I was a bird, I could fly that way, but in actual fact, I had to walk 950 meters. So the distance was what, 950, and the displacement was the measurement of this line here. I go back to my OneNote. I determine the displacement in here. I type it in, but I also explain briefly what that is. Part B for this section, I want you to go back to Google Maps, use St. Peter's as your starting point, and I want you to pick any landmark in Maitland. Probably don't do the basketball stadium because we already did it. Well, you can do the basketball if you like. And I want you to repeat that format for an area from All Saints College, St. Peter's, to somewhere else in Maitland. Now, I don't want you to do a round trip. I just want it to be as if it's going from A to B. State the location. Then I want you to insert a screenshot of the Google Maps along with the distance calculator. When you have the screenshot on there, so you should have 2 screenshots, one with the maps, one with the calculator. Then for option B, I want you to choose any travel destination in Australia. Okay, so we're going to zoom out on the map, and I want you to start from St. Peter's, and I want you to use Google Maps and the distance calculators on Google Maps to determine the distance and displacement for your trip. And once again, screenshot those below. Okay, option B. If you're doing option B, you're doing this in your house. So you're going to start at your front door and you're going to travel to each room after the other. So you go to your front door and you're going to go from your front door to your kitchen. So using an app that measures distance or counting here, you need to count how many steps or how far it is from your front door to your kitchen. Then you go from the kitchen to the bathroom, bathroom to the lounge room to the bedroom, bedroom to the back door. Okay, now the distance traveled in here is going to be the distance from here to here. So it might take me 6 meters to get from the front door to the kitchen. Okay, then it might take me another 12 meters to get from the kitchen to the bathroom. From the bathroom to the lounge room might only be 3 meters. From the lounge room to the bedroom might be 15 meters. So this distance here is how far it is between those rooms. Okay, in this final column, row down here, I want you to add all of the distances, and that should give you your total. Time yourself while you do this. So you can use a stopwatch to time how long it takes to travel between each room. So start the timer, count the distance, record how many seconds it took to get there. Do that for each section. Once you've done that, you're going to calculate the total distance traveled, and then you're going to need to calculate the displacement. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I want you to work it out for yourself. If you like to draw a map, you may do so if you're a visual learner, and that's going to be helpful for you. Once you've got the distance and the displacement, it's then time to write a peel paragraph to compare and contrast the two. You'll need to go back to the motion introduction to look at the definitions of distance and displacement. And you need to make sure that after you refer and define what they are, you explain how they are similar or different. I've put a little hint up here for you for one difference. When you're using your evidence, you need to state what the distance and displacement were in your experiment. For example, comma, the distance travelled was blank. However, the displacement was blank. And then your link needs to be a justification or a reason for this, so it should refer back to the actual definitions of distance and displacement. Once you've done that, you've typed it into your OneNote, you've completed the activity for today. Please be aware you only need to complete one of these, option A or option B.